Phantom Ride, a supernatural horror novel. Author, Pragash Bosco. Prologue. The desert highway stretched infinitely, a black scar across the golden dunes. The only signs of life were the occasional tumbleweeds and the glow of a distant gas station. The night bus, Route 86, rumbled along the deserted road, its headlights barely piercing the darkness. Inside, passengers dozed off, unaware of the horror that awaited them. No one knew that, years ago, this very bus had been the site of a bloodbath. A serial killer, Devin the Butcher Ramesh, had been cornered here, his reign of terror ending in a catastrophic accident. His body was never recovered, only the smoldering wreckage and a few scattered bones. Now the bus traveled only at night, and those who boarded never returned. Chapter 1. The Missing Bus. Detective Ravi exhaled heavily as he stared at the file on his desk. Another missing persons case. No, an entire missing bus. That makes 5 this year, said Officer Malik, placing a cup of coffee beside Ravi. All-night buses, no wreckage, no survivors, just vanished. Ravi flipped through the reports. The missing passengers were from different backgrounds, different cities. No clear connection, except for one thing. They had all taken Route 86 at night. Maybe a human trafficking ring? Malik suggested. Ravi shook his head. No ransom demands. No bodies turning up. It's like the desert just swallowed them. The case had eerie rumors tied to it. Travelers speaking of a phantom bus that appeared on moonless nights. Some claimed to have seen passengers staring out mouths moving silently, as if screaming. Yet no sound ever came. Just urban legends, Ravi muttered, though unease settled in his gut. Then why not check it out yourself? Malik smirked. That night, Ravi did exactly that. Chapter 2. The Last Ride. Ravi boarded the 10:30 p.m. Route 86 bus, a rickety vehicle that reeked of sweat and gasoline. The passengers were an odd mix: an elderly woman, a young couple, a businessman, a student, and a silent man in a hood. The driver. Arul barely glanced at Ravi as he paid his fare. As the bus rolled into the desert, Ravi felt the night grow unnaturally cold. The road seemed too empty, the stars above, eerily dim. At midnight, the first anomaly occurred. The bus's interior lights flickered. The old woman gasped, clutching her chest. Outside the window, another bus was driving alongside them, identical in every way, except its windows were covered in grime, its paint peeling. Inside, shadowy figures sat motionless, their empty eyes locked onto Ravi's bus. Then, without warning, the passenger beside Ravi disappeared. One moment, the businessman was flipping through a newspaper. The next, his seat was empty, the paper crumpled on the floor. No one else reacted, as if he had never existed. Ravi's stomach twisted. "Stop the bus," he ordered. The driver ignored him. The hooded man beside him whispered, "It's too late." Chapter 3. The Ghost Bus. Panic surged through the passengers as more people vanished, their cries muffled by an unseen force. The bus ahead swerved into their lane. Their driver, eyes wild with fear, yanked the wheel, barely avoiding a collision. As their bus skidded to a stop, the phantom bus passed through them, like mist dragging a cold, deathly silence in its wake. A whisper filled the air. "You're all mine now." Ravi turned toward the hooded man, only to see a rotting face beneath the hood. The serial killer, Devin Ramesh. "Welcome to my bus," Devin rasped, his grin stretching impossibly wide. "I've been waiting for you." The bus doors slammed shut, and the real nightmare began. Chapter 4. The Killer's Playground. The passengers ran to the windows, banging and screaming, but the desert outside had vanished. In its place was a swirling void of shadows. The bus was no longer moving. It was floating. Devin's laughter echoed. "You can't escape. This bus is my home now. And you're my entertainment." Well, one by one, the passengers were dragged into the darkness, some clawing at the seats, others yanked away mid-scream. Ravi fought back, grabbing a fire extinguisher and swinging it at Devon. It passed right through him. Devon smirked. "Oh, detective, you can't fight a ghost." But Ravi wasn't looking at Devon. He was staring at the floorboards. A section near the back was slightly raised, splintered. A memory surfaced. The killer's knife was never found. What if his spirit was bound to it? The bus suddenly lurched, sending Ravi crashing forward. Devon loomed over him, a shadowy knife forming in his hands. "Time to join the others," he whispered. Chapter 5. Breaking the Curse. Summoning every ounce of strength, Ravi ripped open the floorboards. There it was, a rusted, blood-stained knife pulsing with unnatural energy. Devon's face twisted in rage. "No!" Ravi grabbed the knife and with a final desperate act, plunged it into the bus floor. A deafening scream filled the air. The entire bus exploded into light. The darkness collapsing inward. Epilogue. The new driver. Ravi awoke on the side of the desert highway, the wreckage of an old burned-out bus beside him. The passengers were gone. The road was empty. Was it over? Shaken, Ravi returned to the city, filing his report. The disappearances stopped. The ghost bus was never seen again. But at night, Ravi started having dreams of himself driving a bus through the endless desert with shadowy passengers sitting behind him. The road never ended, and the whispers never stopped. Tagline: some roads never let you leave.
Phantom Ride, story produced by Pragash Bosco. The road never ends, and neither do the stories. If you enjoyed this ride through fear and mystery, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. More terrifying tales are waiting for you, if you dare. See you on the next journey.